Here we go. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. We are live here on YouTube. Joint practices just wrapped up over at a rainy Halas Hall. Lots to get into here on today's show. But before we can do that, we got to show a little love to Monday's guest, Michael Horowitz. Boom! Shout out to Michael Horowitz with the bear down. Horowitz, the real one. And again, he's donating 2 tickets for the season opener that we're going to raffle off on Saturday. So be sure to join us during our watch party. But shout out your city. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. And we'll get this party started here on Chicago Bears Now by Chat Sports. Colin, I'm just glad that there were no major injuries for the Bears at practice today because they decided to practice outside in pouring rain conditions.
Yeah, you and me both on that one. When you initially told me that they were going to go ahead with the practice and that the starters were out there playing, my immediate first thought was, keep DJ Moore away from all facilities, please.
Well, he caught a touchdown today, so he did practice, but the Bengals had a couple guys go down. Terrell Smith left with the trainer. Unclear if that's serious or not, but no notable Bears players got injured today, so that's a positive. We got Marcus in Chicago. Let's see. Safford, Arizona from Carlos. Kingston, Alabama from Josh. Oh, Don Burr is in the chat. There he is. Mike in Wake Forest. Forsyth, Illinois from Danny. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. Grays Lake, Illinois from James. The Village is Florida. Is where Malcolm is. We got James in Wautoma, Wisconsin. Ken in Dallas. What's up, Ken? Good old Urbana. What's up? Michael Horowitz, the legend, the man, the myth. Las Cruces, New Mexico from Adrian. We got Tyler in Arkansas. Snow Gang in Chicago. Washington State. Little KO there. So thanks to everybody for tuning in today and letting us know where you're tuning in from. I'm just curious, and I made this the live poll here on today's show. The Bears were reportedly in on Matt Judon, and we're going to talk about this a little later. Do they pivot elsewhere, try to get another pass rusher in here? We'll see. But would you have traded a third-round pick for Matt Judon? Why for yes and for no? Colin, what do you think? Would you have done this knowing you probably are going to have to pay him pretty big money also?
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point there because it's not just the third-round pick that you're giving up, it's also the contract that goes with it. Ultimately, I'm in the business of making your team as best as it possibly can while you have a rookie quarterback. You don't have to pay Caleb at least for the next, couple seasons, few seasons, whatever it is. So, look, man, Matthew Judon, I think he's still one of the best edge rushers when healthy that the NFL has. And to pair him potentially with Montez Sweat, a position that we've talked about, it feels like ad nauseum that the Bears should improve. I would have, but again, that also depends on what contract Matt Judon was trying to look for. So a lot to be up in the air, but if you're telling me just third on face value, I would have paid it.
Yeah, I think face value, for sure. It's hard to know what – I guess we'll see if the Falcons pay him what the contract looks like. Scott Pioli had some interesting comments. Former GM who was in the Bears building yesterday saw some of this go down. So we'll get to that later on as well. I think the third is the most I would have given up, but I probably would have been cool with it. But I also understand not over spending here, both in draft capital and contract. This is kind of one of those where it's like, okay, maybe you bend a little. If you find a sweet spot, you'll do it. But they clearly, it sounds like Atlanta offered more. So we'll see if and when that contract comes through. But tough call, and I think you guys agree. 53% yes, 47% no. And that's kind of indicative of where I'm at. Like, I see it both ways. Like, if it was a second, I think that would have been an overpay. If it was a fourth, I think that would have been great value. Third is kind of right on the fence. It's a day 2 pick. You're probably going to have to then pay him $20+ million per year. He's 32 coming off an injury. So I think it's fair to kind of be on either side of the coin for this one. Speaking of coin, if you want to save some of it, Rocket Money is the place to go. Shout out to Rocket Money for being one of our sponsors on today's show, as it is a personal finance app that will find and cancel any subscriptions that you no longer want. They'll list them out on one screen for you once you sign up with that link on your screen and in the chat. and just click cancel next to the ones you don't want anymore. It's going to help you save a ton of money. You can also set budgets, negotiate to lower some of your bills. Rocket Money is the best finance app out there. I use it almost every single day, so check them out. We appreciate them sponsoring. We also appreciate Prize Picks. Prize Picks is back. Daily fantasy sports made easy with Prize Picks, and baseball season's ongoing, so the way it works is you set entries, 2 to 6 players, choose more or less on tons of different stats that are going, and if you want to, or if you hit on those picks, you make money. So if you want to take more than on hits for a certain player, less than on strikeouts for a certain pitcher, you can do that. Obviously, football is around the corner as well. Basketball will be here before we know it. Plenty of sports, esports available to play Prize Picks with. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100 when you sign up today. Okay, name a pass rusher the Bears should sign or trade for. Sign or trade for. Who is a pass rusher you would like to get the Bears on this football team? I'll get some shout-outs in a second. Shout-out to Horowitz first. He said would not have given under a third. It would kill the cap. Yeah, I mean, again, I see both sides. I see Cullen's point of you got a rookie quarterback. This is when you take advantage. I also see the point of, do you want to hand out a big contract to a guy entering a contract year, coming off injury at 32 years old? It's a bit of an unknown. So, I think a third is the most I would have done. I would have certainly understood it, but I'm not like freaking out that they didn't do it. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. Daniel says Haason, Reddick. Augustine says Micah or Trey Hendrickson. I would love to have Micah Parsons. I just don't see any scenario where the Cowboys are trading him right now. It would have been kind of funny if today after practice, Ryan Poles just gave Trey Hendrickson a Bears helmet and said, hey, you're a Bear now. But don't think that's happening right now, but maybe in the future. Max Crosby, that'd be great. They're not going to trade him before the season. I think a lot of big-name guys now could be revisited at the deadline if teams become sellers, but Matt Nagy, Shane McClellan. Shout out Shane McClellan, man. I wish that pick would have worked out a little better. Josh, I think Hendrickson is in our grasp. I'd love to see it. He requested a trade before the draft. We'll talk about him more a little bit later, but, I mean, at this point, is Cincinnati going to trade their best pass rusher weeks before week 1? I don't know, man. Now, if they're struggling a little bit early in the year, or if Burrow got hurt again and they decide to sold or something like that, could that happen before the deadline? I think that's plausible, but I would be surprised if he got moved before week 1 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the question is should versus, could or would they. 3 of his last 4 years, he's had at least 13 and a half sacks. He's 29 years old, one of the best pass rushers in football.
He's damn good, man.
Yeah, you would obviously love to have Trey Hendricks on your team.
I mean, I would trade that Carolina to pretty comfortably for Hendrickson. I don't know if I'd trade my first, but if that Carolina 2 and a day 3 pick got it done, I'd probably do that. So I don't know if that's in the cards at some point, but I'd be willing to take a swing there. Oh, Geezer. Baskerville is the hound, always on the ball. Our young guys are ready. I like Micah Baskerville, man. Had a nice pick 6 last week, and second-year player that was a UDFA out of LSU last year. He seems to have a knack for being around the ball. So I think he's got a shot to make the 53-man roster, and I'm pulling for him because he seems like a likable kid. All right, if you love the Bears, hit the like button. We got almost 500 people watching live. Plenty of show and coverage to come. If you want to get your questions on the show today, super chat, we'll work those in between segments as well. So hit that like button and let's get this party started because we got some joint practice news and takeaways to get to as the Bengals were at Halas Hall in Lake Forest today. The Bears, are they interested in an edge? Seems pretty clear that they are at this point. We'll talk about the latest there and explore some potential options. And we'll get to our preseason week 2 preview. Yes, third game of the preseason for the Bears, but preseason week 2, it's basically week 0 for the Hall of Fame game, so think of it like that. Bears, Bengals, lots to talk about. Like this video, and let's dive into the latest from joint practice. I'm Harrison Graham. We are reacting to Bears-Bengals joint practice today here on Chicago Bears Now as the two teams got after it out in Lake Forest. Some takeaways, minor injury updates, and things trickling in by the minute here that I'm just going to mention toward the end of the episode as well, so stay tuned for that. But before we get to all of that, Bears-Bengals watch party on Saturday. Subscribe. Join us live at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time, 1 hour before kickoff, getting you ready for the game. We'll have full play-by-play live reaction coverage during the game, and then, of course, a post-game show. So lock in with us here on Chicago Bears Now. Okay, let's get to some joint practice takeaways here. Number one, it poured the entire time. Did not stop raining. I wondered if they would move it inside or scale it back in some regard, but they decided to proceed and do an outdoor practice. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure they should have done that, just because you just worry, right? Like someone slips, bad ankle sprain, bad knee injury, something like that. Bengals had a couple of guys go down. Luckily, the Bears only had one guy leave practice. We'll tell you who that is in a minute. But if you told me they canceled practice today or moved it inside because of how much it was raining, I would have been like, that sucks, but I get it. But they went through and had practice, and it seemed like it was beneficial for the most part. But, man, you would have really hated to see someone big time go down. Luckily, that didn't appear to happen. All right, so a little bit of a slow start, but a good finish for Caleb Williams, the Bears rookie quarterback. His first interception pass in 7-on-7s was actually intercepted. So you're like, oh boy, this is a slow start. But picked up after that, threw a couple of touchdowns in team drills, 11-on-11s. Found Keenan Allen in the corner of an end zone. Also hit DJ Moore for a touchdown as well. Apparently, that touchdown pass to Keenan stood out, as in that'll probably be the highlight the Bears tweet out at some point, so check that out once that happens. But sounds like it was a pretty good practice overall. Obviously, the weather played a role, but good to see the rookie bounce back after a not-so-good start to the practice against Cincinnati. Show QB1 some love. Caleb Williams, get the CWs in the chat for the face of the franchise. Type CW if you want to show Mr. Caleb Williams some love. How about the defense? 3 interceptions off of Joe Burrow as the Bears defense was able to make some plays. Not sure who picked off Burrow for the third time, but 2 of the 3 interceptions were from Kevin Byard and Greg Stroman Jr. And man, Stroman he kind of just quietly makes plays. I mean, it's going to be tough to keep him off this roster. Obviously, Byard is a starter for this team, filling in for Eddie Jackson, who got cut before free agency. But, it's practice. I'm not going to over or underreact, but pick off Joe Burrow 3 times. It's a pretty good day at the office. So certainly pretty pleased with that. We'll continue with some more takeaways and a couple of other post-practice notes in a second, but we got to tell you about our sponsor, our partner, Prize Picks. Shout out to Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app out there. Football is back, and so is Prize Picks here on Bears Now. They are the best daily fantasy sports app that exists, and here are just a few reasons why. The way it works is simple. You select 2 to 6 players in your Prize Picks lineup. Any sports are available as long as it's in season or close to. Pick more or less on their projected stats and place your entry. It's easy. It takes less than 1 minute to fire an entry off. How about this deal? 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard, 4 weeks of free wins. Who else is offering that? Not anyone I'm aware of, but Prize Picks is. By the way, I've got a little season-long play going on right now. Or week 1, excuse me. I have a season-long play as well. This is a week 1 one, though. Caleb Williams, more than 236.5 passing yards. Tyreek Hill, more than 90.5 receiving yards. 10 to win 30. A little teaser on the season-long one. Prize Pick still has Caleb Williams, 3,400 and change passing yards. Take the more, baby. Go check that out. As long as you pair it up with something else, you got a chance to win. 2 to 6 player entries with Prize Picks. By the way, if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play for just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks will also match your initial deposit bonus up to $100 with code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS. That link and promo code in the comments and description of this video. Go check out Prize Picks today. Daily fantasy made easy. Okay, both defenses won 2-minute drills today. Caleb tried to find Simba Webster on a fade ball in the corner of the end zone that got knocked away. A lot of the backup receivers were getting some reps at that point, so I'm not putting a ton of stock into that. Simba Webster is not going to be playing on Sundays. And let's just be honest, based on the reports, the tweets, a lot of drops slipping around, weather gave the defenses an edge. I saw a Bengals reporter said T. Higgins dropped 4 passes. I mean, it's just like, again, it kind of goes back to my first point. Like, I'm not complaining that they practiced, but if they didn't, I wouldn't have complained either because last thing you want to do is get someone hurt out there. Terrell Smith did leave practice for the Bears. Unclear if it's serious, if it's not, if it's injury related, if it's not. But he did leave today's joint practice with the trainer with something, so certainly something to monitor. If he's playing Saturday, obviously it wasn't a big deal. If not, certainly we will keep an eye on that. The Bengals had the cart come out twice, so again, I'm glad that didn't happen to the Bears. Luckily for Cincinnati, it was a couple backups, I believe. All right, Matt Eberflus spoke after practice and discussed a lot of things. The main thing, though, is that starters will play on Saturday. I'm not sure this would be the case, or I wasn't sure heading into today because the Bengals announced earlier this week that they are not going to play starters. But I'm glad the Bears are doing this. Like, a lot of times teams just kind of silently agree, hey, joint practice, we just won't play starters in the game. We'll focus on the practice. Well, the Bears and Bengals are in different spots. I'm not saying the Bengals are going to be way better or the Bears are going to be way worse or anything like that. But, yeah, I don't blame them for not playing Joe Burrow. He's established and has an injury history. Caleb Williams, though, he needs reps. He needs to be out there. So you don't need to match Cincinnati just because they decided not to play their starters, which, again, they are not expected to play. So, look, does that create a little more pressure to go perform against their twos? I guess. I'm not too focused on that, though. Like, I just want to get these reps. I want to stack and build off of a good start last week for Caleb, and hopefully we get to see that on Saturday. Flus didn't mention specifics in terms of how long they'd play. Cole Kmet later said, though, that he thinks they're playing around a quarter. Said not to quote him on that. Sorry, Cole. But, yeah, that's where things sit right now. Do you agree with the starters playing this week? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know in the comments. I do. Even if it's not a heavy dose, I would like to see them play this week. But that is just me. Let me know in the comments below. And I have one more thought, too, before we end this segment. Nate Davis spoke after practice, and obviously it's been tumultuous around him. It's been very opinionated on the outside, from myself included. He said his approach is day by day. He feels like he's close to 100%. He completely dismissed the notion that he doesn't like to practice, says you don't get to this level without being a heavy competitor and working hard, which I don't disagree with him on that. I don't have a doubt that he has worked hard to get to this point. I just think it's a simple fact that he hasn't been available much. I mean, you can't really dispute that. Matt Eberflus said it's a competition at center and right guard still, says they feel good about Tevin at left guard, but center and right guard's up in the air. Nate Davis admitted he did not, that Flus has not told him that, so I'm not sure if there's a disconnect there or not. But I said it yesterday or the day before, he's got an opportunity right now because Ryan Bates, another note from Flus, is week to week. So if Nate Davis could stack some practices, play well in the game on Saturday, stay healthy, he could potentially lock down that right guard spot. So, while it was looking bleak for him as a starter just a few days ago, maybe that opportunity is back for Nate Davis. So, to me, it's just like talk is cheap at this point. Like, he could say this and that, and it's not that I believe him or don't. It's just that I want to see him do it. Oh, this is the last thing. He said that when he's healthy and his mind is right, he's one of the best guards in the NFL. Well, then go prove it. Go prove it. Play well. Stay on the field. And I get you can't control injuries, but, I mean, this, he hadn't been one of the best guards in the NFL since joining this team. I know that's for sure. So everything's ahead of him. Everything that he wants is out there. You got to go take it, though. You got to go take it. All right. Thanks for watching all the way through this episode. If you made it to the end, be sure to subscribe, turn on those notifications. We will continue to keep you guys informed here on Chicago Bears Now.
What's the best ability, Harrison?
Availability.
That's right.
You got to. It's kind of like what I said. Like Lee, I think I said it before. Then also after the Caleb's debut is like before anything else, you got to get the play started if you're the quarterback. And like for any other player before that, it's you got to be on the field first. Then it comes down to, are you talented? Do you know the playbook? Can you go out and execute? Do you let pressure get to you in high-stakes situations? Like, there's different levels to this, but you got to be out there first and foremost. And Nate Davis just hasn't been out there much. So, you know, I've never rooted against him. I'm not against the guy. I just want guys that are reliable to play and to play well.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. And again, you know, I'm new to the, you know, kind of Bears ecosystem here, but people will tell you, you know, by their actions who they are. Believe them. So, again, can't blame injuries. It's just one of those things, man.
Yeah. The Rolly's neckbeard. Cullen is always available. That's right. That's right. Cullen doesn't, you know, no load management here.
No load management.
No load management
None.
here. We're playing all 82, baby. We're playing all 82. All right. Next segment coming up. A lot of chatter around the Bears, Matt Judon, all this stuff. So kind of want to get you caught up on the latest there in the Bears' potential pursuit for a defensive lineman. So stay tuned for that. And coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll take a look at Saturday's preseason game and kind of take a look at some of the things that I'm keeping an eye on, plus some players to watch. So all that is straight ahead here on Chicago Bears Now. The Chicago Bears clearly want to add a pass rusher. My name is Harrison Graham. These two guys, with their actions, have shown us that they want to add to this defensive line. So I'm going to get you caught up on the latest, plus explore some of the potential options that are available via free agency and a potential trade market. But before we jump into that, can we get to 97,000 subscribers before the Chiefs preseason game? Don't think we're going to get 600 plus by the Saturday game against Cincinnati, but I think 97K by next Thursday is on the table. So I'll tell you this, if the Bears make a big roster move, we're going to go live here on the channel. So subscribe today. It's 100% free of charge. Nothing costing you to hit that subscribe button. All right, let's set the table with this. The Bears were clearly in on Matt Judon, not only per reporters, but per a former NFL GM that was in the building at Halas Hall when this all was going down. We'll get to Scott Pioli in a minute, but the report from Jordan Schultz is that it came down to the Falcons and the Bears for Matt Judon. Ultimately, the Patriots shipped him to Atlanta for a 2025 third-round pick, as he is now an Atlanta Falcon. And you know, there was a lot of debate. Would you have offered a third? Would you not? There were some reports. There was one report out of Boston that Ryan Poles did offer a third. Now, I don't want to dismiss the report, but it's not like Schefter said that or one of these bigger reporters. Doesn't mean it's not true, but I do just want to add the full context there. But there's at least been some chatter that the Bears offered a third. And I will say this. If they offered a third and chose Atlanta, that means the Patriots think the Bears are going to be better than the Falcons, right? And that at least plays part of a role in that decision. Now, I'm not completely convinced Ryan Poles offered a third for Matt Judon. He wants to get fair value, especially knowing he likes to be involved at the trade deadline. He might have just, you know, offered a fourth or 2-day 3 picks and if take it or leave it type thing. But at minimum, the Bears were interested. At minimum, there was some back and forth here. Not, you know, all the reporters are saying that the Bears were in the mix. So ultimately, he became a Falcon. But I just think it's important to outline that the Bears at least appear to be in pursuit of a pass rusher. Would you have traded a third for Matt Judon, third-round pick? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I can see it both ways. I really can. I think the third, that was kind of the sweet spot for a potential trade, but curious to see what side of the fence you would have felt on. So Y for yes or N for no. Again, I do think that third-round pick is right on the edge because if you go a 2 or certainly a 1, which it would never have been a first, it's an overpay for a 32-year-old pass rusher on an expiring contract who you're also going to have to pay. Third is still a bit risky. It's a day 2 pick. You're still going to have to pay him a contract in all likelihood unless you just want to keep him as a rental. But I think with him holding out in New England, you were at least going to have to give him a pay raise this year at minimum. So it's not just that you're giving up the pick. It's the money that you're going to have to invest as well. You look at Keenan Allen, for example. Different position, but a premier one on offense. It was a fourth to get him in here, and he's willing to play on his current contract. So A, you only had to give up a fourth, which helps your rookie quarterback more directly, and B, it's not like he's holding out and forcing the Bears to give him a contract. So that's a little bit safer for Chicago than a third and a potential pay raise at minimum, if not an extension. And I think those are some reasons for hesitation. A, he missed most of last year with an injury. B, he's 32 years old, which for trenches players, they tend to fall off at some point. 3, last year of a contract, so you're likely going to pay him, and that's been pretty voiced from him in his camp. He wants a new deal. Now, I don't know if it's full Haason Reddick, where it's like he's going to refuse to play without one, but he clearly wants a new deal. And so to recap it all, I think a third, I would have been okay with it, but that's the most I would have done. I would not have done a 2 unless you would have gotten a pick back, maybe like a 2 for Judon and a 3, get a 3 back. But I just don't think at this point in time I would have done more than a third. Now, maybe at the deadline, if Judon's having a huge year and if the Bears are looking like a contender and they feel like they're a piece away from making a run, then yeah, maybe you overpay at that point. But in August, I think a third was the sweet spot, and so it's kind of, you could go either way, so I can't really blame the Bears. Now, this is where it gets interesting, though, and where I could buy that the Bears offered a third. Scott Pioli, who was at Bears practice yesterday and on Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, said that this came down to the contract, not the trade. Pioli went on NFL Live and essentially said that the Bears, when discussing with Judon's agent, because they had direct contact, the Patriots allowed Judon to discuss potential contracts with trade suitors, that they didn't offer enough. They didn't offer him as much as he wanted. So it may have come down to a situation where the Patriots respect Judon enough and say, hey, we got similar trade from 2 teams. You negotiate with those 2 teams, and whichever deal you like better, we'll trade you to that team. And I could buy that because, the outlook of the Falcons and Bears could be similar in terms of where they'll be picking. So maybe the Falcons just offered more. Now, as of filming this on Thursday, he has not signed an extension with Atlanta. But I could buy that. I could buy polls being like, hey, we'll send you a third, but we're only going to give you, $18, $20 million per year on a 1 or 2 year extension. And maybe Judon was like, no, I want more. So I'm just throwing out numbers. I'm not sure, but that's what Pioli said, and he was in the Bears building when this trade went down. So I take that pretty seriously at the end of the day. All right, coming up next, more evidence that Chicago wants a pass rusher. Even more than they were in the mix for Judon. I think it's pretty clear at this point what they want. But before we get there, I do got to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor today. That is Rocket Money. And listen, if you're like me and, you got some college debt, you've got a mortgage to pay, you got a child that you're raising and a lot of expenses there, bills, you got to stay on top of your money, man. You got to monitor your finances. And the Rocket Money app helps you do that better than any banking app I've ever had. And what's cool with Rocket Money is you sync up your bank account with it, and you're able to check everything. Check how many subscriptions you have at once, how much you're paying per month on those. And if you want to cancel those, they'll help you do that. You can set budgets where they'll send you alerts all the time to see if you're over or under budget for that specific month. You can negotiate to lower certain bills that you have, like your energy bill, cell phone provider, etc. They will show you other companies for those providers that could lower your monthly bill. It's awesome. Rocket Money is going to help you save money, and just in general too, there's just a lot of cool stuff. You can check your credit score every single day. You can kind of see what areas in life you're spending more on. Are you eating out too much? Are you spending too much at the grocery store, gas, etc.? And you can kind of figure out where you can scale back. Rocket Money has saved customers over $500 million for those who use the app to the fullest potential. Think about that. And on average, you could save up to $700 plus if you maximize the usage of their app. So download, or $700 per year, excuse me. RocketMoney.com/Bears now. Download the app today. Trust me, Rocket Money is awesome. Think what you could do with an extra $700 this year. Go on a vacation. You go on several nice meals. You could start a college fund. Rocket Money is going to help you save money. Did Matt Eberflus slip up? There was a lot of debate about this on social media a few days ago about Flus and did he reveal what the Bears were trying to do. He was on CBS Sports, and they asked him about Montez Sweat, and he kind of just went on a tangent after the initial question. He says, he demands attention, talking about Sweat. He frees up the other rushers. When you can have two, it's even better. And then as he started to stutter, he said, and that's what we're searching to do here coming forward. Now, Bears Twitter was kind of split on this. This was on August 13th before the Judon thing went down, before it was reported the Bears were in. Kind of split on Twitter like, hey, he's just talking about current guys they have. They're trying to find a second guy internally. And then the other half of Twitter was like, are the Bears going to trade for Matt Judon? Are they trying to go get someone? Well, the next day, Judon got traded, and the Bears were in the mix. So kind of a couple things stood out there. Number one, if you go watch the clip, Flus starts stuttering when he mentions the when you have two thing. That's pretty significant. That's what we're searching to do. He was stuttering there. Like, searching to me is kind of like they're looking for an answer. Now, maybe that could include internally, but I think with the Judon thing coming out that the Bears were in there until the end, that's kind of confirmation to me that the Bears are at least looking around. They're poking around. They're gauging the market, seeing what's out there. Now, that doesn't mean they're being reckless. If they were reckless, they would have gotten Matt Judon. Not saying that getting him would have for sure been reckless, but if they wanted to, they could have, is my point. They could have given a second-round pick, etc. But the Bears are clearly trying to get someone in here. Now, another free agent went off the market. Carl Lawson signed with the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday morning. He's got shorter arms, so probably wasn't a great fit. We know Flus polls, they value these bigger, longer edge rushers, like Austin Booker, frankly. Hopefully he develops into being a big-time player. So Lawson is out, but there's still some guys out there, and we're going to get to those players here in just a second. But I want to hear from you. Name a pass rusher the Bears should sign or trade for. Either way is fine. Sign or trade for. Drop a name down in the comments below. So let's get to some potential targets. Obviously, Yannick Ngakoue is still out there. He's pretty clearly the top free agent left as a pass rusher. Didn't have a great year last year with the Bears, but again, 2 of his 4 sacks were once Montez Sweat got traded. I thought he played a little better once Sweat got here. So I'm not going to sit here and dismiss the possibility of Ngakoue. I will say this, and maybe this is a reach, but I think Austin Booker is actually better already. So I think Ngakoue is the best free agent, but I don't think you can view this like we did last year when they signed him. Like, oh, this is a plug-and-play starter at worst. He's going to get you 8+ sacks, as that's what he's been every year of his career. I think he's a rotation piece, which is fine. I think he's probably better than Dominique Robinson, but I don't think you can have crazy high expectations for Yannick Ngakoue if that's the direction they go in. Let's get to the interesting names. Haason Reddick. Obviously, we've talked about Haason Reddick at times throughout this offseason. We talked about him earlier this week when he requested a trade from the New York Jets, and that's kind of where things sit. Requested a trade because he still wants a new deal, which is why Philly traded him in the first place. Jets came out and said they're not going to trade him. We've heard nothing since Monday from either party. So I don't know what's going on there. I think the Jets look foolish in this situation because you traded for a player that wanted more money. The Eagles didn't give it to him, so they traded him. You knew that, and you still haven't paid up. Kind of silly to me. I don't know how much he wants. I don't know what a trade would cost. They gave up a conditional third for him. I can't imagine it would be more than a third given that fact. I do wonder, with how productive he's been, despite that, do the Bears view him as a 4-3 fit? Because he's essentially been a 3-4 edge his entire career. He's like 6'1.5", 6'2", 240, 245. He's a smaller edge rusher in a 4-3 scheme. Now, I think if you know how to rush, you know how to rush. Your defense, you should be adaptable to making a player like that work. But, you know, these teams have preferences, and maybe the Bears don't view him as an ideal fit. All right, number 3, and this one's a defensive tackle, Jonathan Allen, who was obviously rumored to be a trade candidate at the trade deadline last year. The Commanders opted to trade their edges instead. Of course, Montez Sweat came to the Bears. Chase Young went to the 49ers, who's now in New Orleans. Allen, who is 30 now. Commanders are kind of a young rebuilding team. He would certainly provide help at a different spot on the interior at 3 tech, which Matt Eberflus, to this day, one of his first remarks at his opening press conference was that the 3 tech position is the engine to this defense. And they have not had a premier player there in 2.5 years since he took the job. They tried to sign Larry Ogunjobi that first year. It fell through. They're hoping Gervon Dexter's that guy, but I think that's still a bit of an unknown. Jonathan Allen is a productive, proven player. Oh, and by the way, he played next to Montez Sweat for many years in Washington. So that would be a pretty seamless fit. The sacks have dipped a little bit in each of the last couple of years, but he's still been productive. He's still gotten a lot of pressure. I think if you put him at 3 tech and then made Dexter kind of a versatile backup that could play some 3 tech, played some edge, certainly play more than he did last year, I think that raises the floor of your room pretty significantly. It really, really does. Where him and DeMarcus Walker and Booker can kind of do a little bit of everything as backups, rotation guys. And let's be real, the Bears are excited about Dexter. I am too. But him and Pickens are still unknowns. Dexter's had a nice camp, but we haven't seen him play in an NFL game this year. He flashed last year at times. Pickens flashed a couple of times as a rookie. They're unknowns. Jonathan Allen's not an unknown. Is he a superstar at this point in his career? No, but he's a very good player. And I think if you put him in the middle of this defense, if the price is right, I certainly would be open to that. And then I think, a long shot at this point, but a name worth mentioning because he did request a trade earlier this offseason, that is Trey Hendrickson. But that is the question, who they just practiced against, by the way, Hendrickson and the Bengals. Is he available or not? Is he truly gettable? Because he did request a trade before the draft. He wants a new deal. He's 29 years old. He wants that extension before hitting 30 because he knows what the perception is. Once pass rushers hit 30, that value drops. But if the Bengals haven't traded him by now and he's not holding out at practice, are they going to trade him 2 weeks before the regular season? They're trying to win. They're trying to contend. This feels more like a trade deadline type of deal if Cincinnati's struggling for any reason. I will say this. If you could somehow get Trey Hendrickson, whether it's now or later, the guy's a stud. 13-plus sacks in 3 of the last 4 years. I mean, it's not like it's 10-plus, 13-plus. I mean, he's getting home almost every single game. You put him opposite of Montez Sweat, which, by the way, both players are complete guys. They play the run and the pass. I mean, is there a better edge duo in football? I don't think so. I think that would be the best in the league at that point. And then that really, you're going to find out real quick if Dexter's a player or not on the interior because he's going to get a lot of one-on-one looks. So, I think that one feels more like a deadline possibility, but certainly a player I'd be very interested in. And at the end of the day, what's your answer to this question? Do you trust Ryan Poles? Type T for trust or D for don't. I think he should have earned our trust by now. That doesn't mean he's perfect. That doesn't mean he's not going to make mistakes in the future. All GMs do. But I think he's very logical in his thinking. I think he's very calculated. He is very specific, and when he makes a move, he's a calculated, aggressive trader. He makes a lot of moves, but he typically does not overpay on these moves. So we'll see if he has another trick up his sleeve. But, again, I think it's pretty damn clear that the Bears are interested in adding a pass rusher. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. Hit that subscribe button if you want more coverage. And, again, if the Bears make a big splash, we will go live. So hit those notifications as well. See you guys soon. All right, one more segment to go. Only Matt Nagy doesn't trust Poles. No shocker. No shocker. Say what?
Got a little $2 there for Mr. Inglewood.
Oh, Mr. Inglewood, if you guys super chat, we get your questions answered. Shout out to you guys. 800 people watching. Let's get some more likes. 181 likes. Hit that like button. Mr. Inglewood says, typical Pace move. First Penix, then this. Yeah, Ryan Pace in that front office. See, the difference between him and Poles is Poles will make moves. He will make trades. Poles is more, I don't want to use the word cautious, but I guess cautious. Pace is kind of just oh, that player's good, let's just get him no matter what. Again, I don't think a third is some massive overpay for Judon, but I don't know. Atlanta's, I think they're a good team, Cullen, but I still question some of their roster building because if it seems like they're going all in on this year, why did you draft Michael Penix then? I mean, like, let's be real, guys. They should have just taken a Dunze and supercharged that offense. Because if you put him opposite of Drake London with Mooney in the slot, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, like good offensive line, Cousins at that point really just has to be a distributor.
Yep.
And I like Penix, but.
Yeah, I mean, they did a CYA move, for both Fontenot and Raheem Morris. And, it extends the runway. It obviously, if Kirk, for whatever reason, goes sideways, they have a backup plan. But, like, this roster, imagine if they would have taken Dallas Turner like everyone thought they would have. Because then you wouldn't have had to trade for Judon. Or if you did, you would have had Judon and Turner.
Yeah.
And it's just, listen, man.
Everyone said Turner, and I got that. I still, like, their receiver room's good, but it's not so good to the point, like, they should have taken a Dunze. I never understood that thought process. Like, I get they needed a pass rusher, but it's like, a Dunze was so clearly the best player available at that point. It's like, unless you're a team that doesn't have weaknesses anywhere, just take the best fucking guy. Like, when they took Penix, I was like, yes!
Yeah.
A Dunze is ours.
Like
it was obvious.
Yeah. And, could have done a couple different things. Again, we now know the draft and everything and what happened. But I think the thought was like, hey, you address your biggest need, pass rusher, and then in rounds 2 or 3, go get a receiver to complement that room too.
Yeah.
So it could have gone either way, but yeah.
And look, if Penix is awesome a few years down the road, people are going to, no one's going to care by then. Right. But I still am just like, you're operating like you're trying to win, not just be a playoff, like win big in the next year or two. Yet you spent a top 10 pick on a guy where ideally he doesn't play in the next couple of years. So it's a weird operation right now. Lucas Praying says, imagine Hendrickson gets traded during practice. Well, practice is over, but yeah, we joked earlier that it would have been funny if Poles just gave him a Bears helmet after practice and said, you're ours now, buddy. But that did not take place. Mason says, I really, really hope Caleb is good. I need it so bad. I feel like Cullen, at minimum, and maybe this is silly to say because we've seen Bears quarterbacks flame out, but like I do believe at minimum he will at least be a serviceable starter. Like I just don't see a scenario where he stinks. Now there's a scenario where he's like, I don't know, the 18th best quarterback for a while, which obviously when you're picking number 1, you're banking on more, but like. I don't view this as a Mitch thing where he was a 1-year starter in college. He was a bit of a projection, and there was a thought that could not work out. Like, I feel like his floor is kind of like the best of what we saw from Mitch, like in 2018. Like, I feel like that's the worst case scenario. Mitch's best football is like Caleb's worst case scenario, and even then, I still think he's going to be a lot better than that. So,
I think he's going to be pretty good as well. I mean, to be honest, I liked him more than Trevor Lawrence coming out. I'm just trying to think of I like him more than Burrow coming out. And those guys, obviously, they have different levels of success. Knocking on wood, obviously health's a concern, but, knock on wood for that. But, yeah, I mean, it's –
the biggest knock on him is he's 6'1.5" instead of 6'3", but it's like – it's not like he's 5'10". Yeah, Mahomes is, I think, right at 6'2".
Yeah, like 6'1.5", 6'2".
So he's like he's a half inch shorter than Mahomes. Like, I mean, it's not like he's Kyler size.
Which he kind of plays like Mahomes a little bit. But
I mean,
hear that from me.
I don't know, man. Like, I'm not sitting here saying the guy's going to be top 5, but I think there's a better chance he's a top 10 quarterback in this league for an extended stretch than he busts.
I think he instantly comes in the league and he's a top half of the league quarterback. That's my kind of bold prediction. Like, from week 1, he is top 16. I
mean, look, Stroud was pretty easily top 10 last year.
Yeah.
Like, and this guy, it was more highly regarded coming out of college than Stroud. Doesn't mean it's going to work out, but...
And we've seen, varying degrees and stuff, and, Trevor Lawrence, there's still questions about him, and he was a transcendent prospect, excuse me. But
he ain't Bryce Young's. I mean, here's the thing, too, about Caleb. First of all, 6'1" is not small.
Yeah.
It's... I would say it's average NFL QB height. But he's also built, I mean, guys, I was around this guy at the Combine. I walked right next to him. That's when I tweeted out because people leading up to the Combine who still wanted to keep Justin Fields, dude, he's not even 6 foot. He's 5'10", 5'11". Yeah. So I made it a point at the Combine to walk next to him if the opportunity was there. I was 2 feet away from him. We were basically eye to eye, and I'm between 6'1" and 6'2". So I tweeted out, not only is he at least 6 foot, he will measure in over 6'1". He was 6'1" and an eighth at the Combine because we're very similar height. But this guy is ripped. His thighs are – I mean, he's thick, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing about, like, Russell Wilson and Kyler. Like, yeah, they're really short guys, but they're like mini tanks out there. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you're going to be a little bit shorter, you need to be a little thicker, and Caleb's plenty thick.
I think he's also – one thing that I really like about him is he runs to pass instead of running to run a lot of the time. And when he does run to run, he's efficient at it. He knows when to pick his spots. He's also – I can't remember, and again, Harry, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember a play in college where he took a massive hit, unlike Jayden Daniels. Like, he's very smart at not getting hit. So,
especially as a runner. Now, he took some sacks, but, when he gets out of the pocket, he avoids contact pretty well. And, hey, we saw slip and slide Williams in full effect on the scramble. Nice little slide for a first down. So, I feel good about Caleb. I know that was a long-winded answer, but I feel good about that. Mason, would you trade Caleb and 5 firsts for Mahomes? Yes. Because I know what Mahomes is.
Yeah.
But I think most teams would trade their QB in multiple firsts. Maybe the Bills wouldn't do Josh in multiple firsts, but they would trade Josh for Mahomes.
Oh, straight up.
They would never admit that publicly, but come on, man. I think they would trade Josh in at least a first and maybe 2. Now, 5 firsts is like, that's a lot. And first of all, you can't even trade 5 firsts. It's not allowed unless you have other teams' first round. Yeah, you can trade 3 first-round picks at a time unless you have other teams. But
there you go.
Yeah. But we have Caleb. We're focused on Caleb. That's the he runs the throw. You got to love it. Exactly. And that was one thing. Like, Justin would occasionally do that. Colin, as great as an athlete and scrambler he was, even if he never got great from the pocket, if he could have just been much better throwing on the move, like, I'm not saying he'd still be here, but he'd be a clear starter somewhere. But when things break down, he can make shit happen and scramble sometimes for a first down, but, like, he does not keep his eyes downfield effectively. Yeah. Whereas Caleb, not only does he's looking to. Like, he's only going to scramble if it's like, A, it's just a wide open lane, which kind of is what happened the other day, or B, it's kind of our last resort, and it's like, okay, I don't see anything open, I'm just going to go. So
I agree.
That's the type of quarterback I like, a dual threat that doesn't look to run a ton, when he picks his spots, like you said.
Yeah, and ultimately in this league, you win from the pocket. You don't win outside the pocket. And I think Fields, say what you want about his development and everything, his strength was outside the pocket. It was.
And as a runner. Yeah. Like, I think Caleb's biggest strength right now is outside the pocket, but it's as a passer.
Right, behind
like, Caleb still, has to – I don't think he's a perfect pocket guy right now. But you look at – and, again, I'm not doing the Mahomes comp thing, but, like, you compare Mahomes' first couple years to how he's played the last few. Last few, he has mastered the quick game out of the pocket based on personnel and just seeing 10,000 reps in the NFL or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
His first couple years, like, you go watch his mixtape from 2018, 2019, all his plays are crazy shit outside the pocket. So you're going to see a lot of that from Caleb this year. And over time, the hope is that he continues to get better in the pocket, whereas I think he's already pretty good in the pocket. Certainly not a finished product, though. So
I agree.
All right, a lot of Caleb talk for you guys there. We'll get to a little more here as we're going to take a look at Bears-Bengals coming up on Saturday. Final segment of the day, so lock us in here. I'm Harrison Graham. This is Chicago Bears Now. Coming up on today's show, Bears-Bengals preview. Game is this Saturday after the joint practice on Thursday, the second to last preseason game for Chicago. But before we get into this matchup, you guys want a chance at winning $25 via Venmo or Cash App? If you do, follow these steps. I recommend you screenshotting on your phone right now or taking a picture if you're watching on a TV. Step number 1, subscribe to my new YouTube channel, 4Verts. Link is right there. It'll be in the description and comments of this video, youtube.com/@4Verts. We cover the NFL and college football on a daily basis. Step number 2, follow 4Verts on Instagram, @4VertsIG. Shout out producer Colin for that switch up, @4VertsIG. So subscribe, on YouTube, follow on Instagram. Step number 3, slide into the DMs on 4Verts Instagram, at 4Verts IG. Give me your score prediction. Got to do it before kickoff. And the first correct score that I receive, if someone hits, I'm going to send you $25. So if you follow all those steps and win and hit, first one to do it gets $25. Freebie from me. Come support us over on 4Verts. Let's go. All right, let's get to this preview. Harrison Graham here, Bears Now. Matt Eberflus announcing that the starters will play against the Bengals on Saturday. Didn't know if that would be the case, considering Cincinnati said that they will not play their starters. So not crazy surprising, considering it's a rookie quarterback that you're trying to develop, but a mild surprise. I did wonder if they would do this. They are. I think it's the right decision. Now, Flus declined to say how long they will play, but did say they have a plan and a range of plays like they did last week. Cole Kmet may have slipped up. He said he thinks they're playing around a quarter, but don't quote him on that, he said. So we'll see how long they're out there. Hopefully at least a few drives. All right, speaking of which, something I want to see in this game. I want to see the Bears score a touchdown while Caleb Williams is in the game. Now, am I going to sit here and freak out if they don't? Am I going to call it a failure if they don't? No, because I think he's clearly made good progress. It was a good start last week. But I do kind of expect to see the next step this week, and that is finding the end zone after leading 2 field goal drives against Buffalo a week ago. But considering the Bengals starters are not playing in this one, maybe that changes. Maybe some of the defensive guys do for Cincinnati. I expect the offense to find the end zone. Again, am I going to panic if they don't? No. Is there going to be something to learn from if they don't? Of course. But I think that would be a nice step. More reps together. Another week has gone by. You're playing against backups probably for the most part. Let's find the end zone. Close last week. Let's finish the deal this week. Number 2, can Gervon Dexter flash? I thought he had a couple of nice plays last week, but I wouldn't say anything that overtly stood out. I want to see him pop. Like during our live watch party, subscribe, we'll be live. I want to be like, whoa, there's Gervon Dexter, there's 99. I want to see a flash play from Dex because the Bears are banking on this guy. They need someone to emerge next to Montez Sweat. There's a reason they were in on Matt Judon. They're trying to add to this pass rush. Well, if they don't, they need a guy like Gervon Dexter to take the next step. I know he's had a pretty good camp. I know the Bears are glad with his progress. But let's see it translate to the game field here in another exhibition. Hopefully we get a sack or a TFL or something that stands out in this matchup. What is your confidence level in Gervon Dexter? Scale from 0 to 10. 0 being you could not be less confident. 10 being you think he could be a Pro Bowler, All-Pro, which are some goals he's set for himself. I'm at like a 6-8. Like, I'm mildly confident, but I got to see it. I got to see it because you need that second guy to emerge on this defensive line. Number 3, which skill players stand out? And I meant like depth skill players. Like, I don't really care if Keenan Allen does something in this game. DJ Moore, we know what they bring to the table. Cole Kmet. But these guys kind of fighting for roster spots, positioning themselves for specific roles. Which of these players stand out? Because there's a lot of competition at running back, wide receiver, defensive back. Which of these guys are going to make plays? And we'll talk about a few of these players, I think, coming up in my other players to watch. But I think you're getting closer and closer to having to figure out who's going to be on this roster. Now, there's still a few weeks, but we're kind of at the halfway point. Halfway through the preseason games, halfway through the start of training camp, kind of to week 1. You know, it's gone by here. So this is another big opportunity for players fighting for spots and roles on this team to stand out and make some noise for themselves. All right, we'll get to some players to watch specifically coming up here in just a second. But first, Prize Picks. Shout out to Prize Picks. They are back. Football is back as well. And it's time to set your daily fantasy lineups today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100 with Prize Picks. The way Prize Picks works is simple. You pick 2 to 6 players on any given entry. You can cross over sports with your plays if you want. Pick more or less on their projected stats for that are offered for a specific game or a season-long play, which season-long plays are available as well. It takes less than a minute. It's very easy. It takes less than 90 seconds to create your account at prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS. Already got a week 1 play out there. Probably going to add several more. Caleb Williams, more than 236.5 passing yards. I think he balls out in week 1. Tyreek Hill always balls out early in the season. I love the more than 90.5 receiving yards. I think he goes for 100 plus. Check it out, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. And how about this? If you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play for just $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. They'll also match your initial deposit up to $100 with code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS. All right, let's get to some players to watch in this one. Velus Jones Jr., the receiver/running back. I think he'll get more run at running back in this one. But what can he do for an encore? I thought it was a little choppy, but some positives in his first game playing at running back. Does he look a little more natural out there this time? Does he look a little bit more comfortable? I quite frankly expect to see him a lot in this matchup, so excited to see that. Hopefully a little cleaner on the kickoff return. He muffed one last week. I know the Bears value him there, but let's see if some of that can translate. Wanted to include Ian Wheeler in this conversation as well, as they could be duking it out for a roster spot. Now, Velus is more versatile because he is proving to at least have some value at multiple positions now. He's clearly not an every down receiver, but he can line up at receiver. He can line up at running back. I don't think Ian Wheeler can line up at receiver. But I want to see both these guys get lots of carries. That's what I want to see. Like, you get outside of the first quarter, like, I like Khalil Herbert, but do I need to see him in a preseason game at this point? Kind of know what he is. Like, you want to give him 2 or 3 carries, call it a day, that's cool with me. DeAndre Swift, play him 1 drive, call it a day. You want to save that mileage for the season. Pound Velus Jones and Ian Wheeler. Like, I want to see who looks better. They both looked good at times last week. I thought Wheeler looked better and a little bit more natural, though, at the running back position. So maybe give Ian Wheeler a kickoff return, too. I think he is showing that he can be a guy that can play in the NFL. We'll see if he gets an extended look in this one. Austin Booker, I just want to know if this continues. I mean, I think we've reached the point where he's at least an exciting player heading into week 1 based on what we've seen so far. He's got a bright future, I think. But can he stay hot? Can this continue? I mean, first preseason game, we saw some flashes. I think that was the right word. Second preseason game, kind of dominated for a stretch. Now, again, gets deeper backups for the most part, but can he build on that? Maybe he gets a sack or some pressure earlier in the game against better competition. So I think the Bears are happy with his progress. I certainly am. Not ready to anoint him a starter, but I think at this point he's going to be at least in the rotation. Can he continue to earn the Bears' trust? Another strong performance would help in that regard. Tyler Scott. Early in training camp, we heard his name a lot. He was making plays downfield. We were talking about, like, oh, he's kind of emerged as your wide receiver 4 deep threat guy. It's been a little quiet for him for about a week and a half now, I feel like. Now, that doesn't mean he's not making plays, but I feel like the boots on the ground, every day we were getting a highlight or a tweet about how Tyler Scott is making something happen. It's been a while since that's been the case, I feel like. And he hasn't done much in the 2 preseason games, so let's see if he can have a few catches in this one. That would certainly go a long way. Now, I don't think his roster spot's in jeopardy or anything like that, but I do want to see if he can, develop a role here because I liked him coming out of Cincinnati quite a bit. Join us for our Bears-Bengals watch party. We'll be live on Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time, with kickoff at noon. We'll get you ready for an hour pregame show, full live reaction during the game, but then postgame afterwards. YouTube.com/BearsNow. Lock us in here on Saturday. Tyson Bagent's the last guy, and there's certainly plenty more, but last one I want to highlight here. I don't think it's been bad, but I think it's been a little choppy for Bagent this preseason. Like, I think he stood out more last preseason, to be honest. Now I know he's more established now, and things have changed, and I don't think his spot's in jeopardy by any means. But a little more smooth of a performance, I think, would just kind of, ease the waters for me a little bit. I don't think a lot of you are concerned, and I wouldn't say I'm concerned. It's just, it stood out a little to me that, this hasn't looked great. He's taken some sacks. the ball hasn't moved a ton with him in there. Now, there could be a million reasons for that, but it'd be nice if he went out there and led a nice drive or two in this one. So just something to monitor, something I'm watching for at least. Maybe you guys disagree. You're not concerned at all, but yeah, I would like to see the backup quarterback show some progress this week and put together a nice drive or two. All right, there you have it. Some things I'm looking out for, some players to watch. Predict the score of Bears versus Bengals. Who do you guys have winning this game, and what is the final score going to be? And remember, follow those steps I mentioned, with the last one being DMing the final score to 4Verts on Instagram. I'll flash it one more time here. You subscribe to 4Verts on YouTube. You follow us on IG at 4VertsIG. DM us the score over there before kickoff. First correct score will win $25. All right. Get those score predictions in. I'm going to throw those links in here, by the way, for 4Verts YouTube and Instagram. Give us a follow on IG. You can go ahead and get your score predictions on the Instagram page, too.
I might put in my score prediction right now.
There you go. Colin looking to win some money, too.
Need that gas money.
Need that. Exactly. You got that long commute. All right. Subscribe. Link is in there. Instagram's in there. If you DM me over on 4Verts, chance to win. Trying to grow that page, so if you want to show love, we're covering the NFL and college football over there. So, chance to win $25. So, let's get it. Harley says Bears 30-24. Joe 150-3 Bears. That'd be fun. That game might take 6 hours, but it'd be fun. Edwin Bond Sr. 27-10. Dub Bears 21-10 from John Wallace. We got 27-10 from Bob Billings. 30-20 from William. Are you out in Denton still? That's what Matt Nagy wants to know.
I am.
Making that commute, baby. Making that commute.
Oh, yeah.
Rick Voigt 26-10 Bears. Josh 24-9 Bears. Ethan 24-13 Bears. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Good audience today, so shout out to you guys for hanging out, rocking, rolling with us. We greatly appreciate it. We'll have some coverage tomorrow leading up to Saturday, and then got another watch party. Should be a lot of fun. So, Colin, thanks for producing. Thanks you guys for watching and listening. We'll see you guys this Saturday for another preseason game.